What's going on, you guys? I hope you're all having a great morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you may be watching this video. You guys have seen me make countless videos now with my 86, and in fact, on September 4th is officially the 2-year anniversary that I've owned this car. If we come around to the inside, you guys will actually see that on the odometer, it actually has just recently hit 20,000 miles. So I actually had a few different things that I wanted to get into and sort of talk about in this video. The first thing that we're going to discuss is thrill factor over time. After 2 years, does driving the GR86 still feel exciting? My love for this car hasn't changed one bit since the day I've owned it. And going out, whether that's to take it to school or work or just even filming videos kind of like this, is always just a blast. The next topic we're going to discuss is everyday usability. How practical is the GR86 for everyday driving? You may have heard me mention it before, but I actually daily drive my GR86, and I've actually taken it on some pretty long road trips as well, like Miami, and I just recently also took it to Jacksonville and all the way to Tail of the Dragon and back with 0 issues. Now, I would say if you needed a vehicle to haul stuff around, the GR86 might not be your best option. It's good for about putting groceries inside the back, and maybe at most a set of wheels and tires if you're planning on taking the car out to a track day. I mean, obviously, as you guys can tell, the car itself is a relatively small vehicle. And the back seats inside these vehicles are pretty much non-existent. They have like no leg room in here if you're trying to fit someone. Luckily for me, in this case, I'm actually not that tall, so I have no problem fitting in my GR86. But for someone who's over 6 foot, maybe like 6'2", 6'3", you might have a little bit of issues cramming yourself into one of these cars. Up next is reliability and repair cost. Have I experienced any mechanical issues or needed any repairs within these 20,000 miles? Now, some of you may be aware of the infamous RTV issues that these cars have. If you all remember, I actually had my oil pan dropped on my GR86 in the past to check for RTV. And what do you know? I had a bunch of dried up silicone blocking the oil pickup tube. This is honestly a pretty serious problem, and it can cause engine failure on one of these GR86s and BRZs. So if you own one of these vehicles and you haven't already checked to see if you have any dried up RTV in your pickup tube, I would highly advise you guys go over and do that. Maintenance for me has honestly just been your typical oil change, tire rotation, fluid change, etc. I like to do my own oil changes whenever I can, and this car calls for 5.3 quarts of oil. I use Pennzoil OW20, and I know a lot of you guys have actually suggested me to switch over to 5W30 because of the Florida heat. I've honestly been thinking about doing that. It just every single time it comes to go do an oil change, I always forget and end up just getting OW20. To play it safe, I know a lot of you guys may know the infamous Subaru motors like to burn a lot of oil, and I honestly burn a decent amount of oil on this car, so I typically will always get 6 quarts of oil whenever I'm filling it up for an oil change. Now, depending on where you go, the prices may vary, but I typically pay around $40 or $45 for the oil itself, and then another $10 or so for a new oil filter and then oil drain plug gasket. It would typically cost me around $60 to $70 every 4,000 miles with this car. I also just recently installed a K&N performance filter on the car. I didn't really do it for horsepower or anything like that. I honestly just did it because I needed to replace my factory one. What's nice about these though, honestly, is that you can rewash them and it will last a lot longer than your typical paper filter will. The filter itself was probably around $50 to $60. So if I had to guess, I've probably spent around $300 to $400 on oil changes and just filters for this car within the 20,000 miles that I've owned it. Now we're going to talk about the cost of ownership. Around how much would it cost someone in terms of fuel and insurance? I would say this truly depends person to person on who's owning the car. As you all can tell, I am on the younger side, and the insurance for the car costs around $1,500 or so for full coverage. So you're looking at spending around that much if you plan on owning one of these cars and you're around my age. The next thing I wanted to actually talk about is the cost for gas with this car. As many of you guys know, I'm always, it seems like, filling this car up at the gas station. If I'm lucky, I'll fill it up around twice a month. And I'm actually running 93 in this car. And depending on where you live, I know the gas prices vary. In my area, it costs around $4 for gas for 93. I'm pretty sure this car has like a 13.5 gallon tank, so it costs me around $45 or so to fill it up. Every month, I'm looking at spending around $90 to $100 if I'm lucky on just gas. Up next, we got the pricing for aftermarket support. Does the cost for certain modifications equivalent to a good increase in horsepower? I've spent a fair share amount of money on this car. In fact, you can actually see around how much money I have into this car if you go and check out the full video that I made explaining all the parts that I have on it. But it's not even wide-bodied or turboed like a lot of other content creators are that have this car. I've never actually put the car on the dyno to see exactly how much horsepower it's making, but if I had to guess, it's probably making somewhere around the 230 wheel horsepower mark. Now I know that doesn't sound like all that, but for one of these cars and with how much they weigh and just the way that they're set up, 230 is truly enough horsepower just to have enough fun with. And you could always, like I said, end up turboing the car down the line and making a lot more horsepower with it if you wanted to. And I do plan on getting to that stage one day with the car, but for now, I'm just enjoying it as it is. And finally, we're gonna talk about future modifications and build plans. Now, I honestly do have a lot of plans for this car, as I'm sure many of you guys do with all your builds as well. Some realistic things that I would like to do within the next year or so, or hopefully as soon as possible, honestly, is getting a flex fuel kit and new E85 tune by Boosted Performance on my car. I've been talking about wanting to run E85 in this thing for a few months now, honestly, and I've had a lot of you guys reach out to me and tell me nothing but great things about running E. So it just got me super excited and I need to experience it for myself. And I figured after we throw the car on E85, we could go out and get it dyno to see exactly how much horsepower it's making and put it up against a few other cars to see how it compares. As you may be able to tell, I actually already have a front lip on this car, but if you come around to the side, I don't have any sort of side skirts or a rear diffuser. Now, I don't know if I'll honestly be able to do a rear diffuser just because obviously, as you guys can tell, I have my rear bash bar, but there's this specific kit that I had in mind that I've had my eyes on honestly since owning this car that I thought looked absolutely amazing. That's still stock body and doesn't have to go with the full wide body look yet. And that is the TRD kit. I've seen so many pictures of this kit and a lot of you guys actually have ran this kit yourself on your GR86, and I just think it looks so good, especially when you have it fully paint matched. That's another thing that I would love to honestly do, maybe not this year, but with coming up within the next year for the car. The last and final mod I'm hoping to do pretty soon is if you guys come around and look at the back of my car, you'll actually see that I have a bunch of carbon fiber on the rear. I'm a huge fan of the way that carbon fiber looks, obviously, as you guys can tell, because I have it all over the side of my car in the front. But there's this one specific carbon fiber piece that I've always had my eye on that I really would love to do on the car, which is a carbon fiber trunk. I just think that it would flow so nicely, and if I got a carbon fiber trunk, it would match with the dark tint on the windows, and I could even wrap the top of my roof either black or maybe do some sort of like carbon fiber option. I haven't really seen too much of that for the roof. I don't know how really well that would look, but that's always possibly an option as well. There you have it, you guys. This was my review of my 2023 Toyota GR86 after owning it for 2 years and 20,000 miles. I absolutely love this car, and don't ever let me fool you and think that I'm ever gonna get rid of it, because I'm not. I hope you guys found this video helpful and enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure you guys give it a like down below. It helps me out so much. Subscribe if you guys are new. That way you can stay up to date on all the content that I make with my 86, just like this. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.